Well, good morning, everybody. This is Michael, and I appear to be here. A little early in the morning for us here in Europe, but it's much tougher on those in Central Europe and in London, where it's still the wee hours. I'm glad to see you here. There are about, what can I say, looks like some almost 70 of us, and there'll be more coming, so it's a fitting launch for this glamour work. Yes, you see a horoscope in front of you, and I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Olivia Hansen, Tuija Robbins, and myself, Michael Robbins, we got together. I think Olivia and Tuija had the idea at about the same time that it's necessary to, given the world situation and the unclarity of consciousness which we find in so many places on the globe, and the importance of the United States election, which has world implications, given the great swirl of glamour, we thought we would join the many groups in the world that are actually working in this way. I mean, we're not alone, certainly, and once the Tibetan had formed his group of 9, his trained observers, as it were, this kind of work has been available, at least after he dissolved these groups. This kind of work became available through the book Glamour, a World Problem. And many groups have undertaken the dissipation of individual glamour, which is a must for anyone who would work on the dissipation of group and world glamour. And we will get there. At first, we're going to work on the individual glamour, and I've sent you all, at least if you're responding to my letter, I've sent you all a list of ray glamours. And, you know, you'll be wanting to work with one of those today. Now, of course, the difficult thing is that while everybody else around us may see the particular glamours to which we are prone, we don't see them so easily. But I'll show you that list again, and you can, if you have received the letter that I sent out on our behalf, you will see Master DK's lists. They start around page 120 in the book Glamour World Problem, and they go to about page 122. And probably many of you who have worked with the Tibetans' material have looked over those lists of glamour, and according to your ray, you know, it could be the ray of your personality, it could be the ray of your soul. Just because you have a soul ray doesn't mean that there are no glamours on that particular ray, because, of course, the personality grabs hold of that soul energy and can make it work for personal purposes. So we're going to do the formula today, tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are, for the dissipation of individual glamour. And once we have worked on that a bit, we're going to do work on group and world glamour. You know, maybe in another month or so, we'll see how it goes, but we have to be well established. And the idea here, of course, is that if we're going to work in a larger sense, it's not without its dangers. You know, we could be vulnerable to glamour itself. You see, we could, because we're working in this field, the glamour can enter into our own lives. So we want to be careful about that. Now, I would suggest that everybody put themselves on. Well, I tell you, I would like to offer either Olivia or Tuija a chance to just say hello if you would like to, or to bring some thought in at this point if you would like to. You're most welcome to. Without you two, we wouldn't be doing this, so here we are.
Oh, thank you, Michael. This is Olivia. We all know that our world is facing such tremendous challenges today with divisiveness and anger, fear, selfishness, And we can do something about it. DK gave us the formula to help dispel glamour. And so we're the ones who know about this formula. We're being called and invited to use this formula to make our world better. But as Michael said, DK said first we have to start with our own individual glamours and work on them. And then when we've done that, we're in effect qualifying ourselves and protecting ourselves to do this world service work together, which is so needed. In fact, I'm just going to read this one little quote. It just occurred to me to do this. He said, when the time comes when a very large number of persons become aware of the condition of world glamour through discovering it and dealing with it in their own lives, then we shall have a group approach to the problem. Then we shall have a definite attack upon the world glamour. And when this does take place, esoterically speaking, an opening will be made which will admit the light of the solar orb. The fogs will slowly disappear, subdued by the solar radiance, and the pilgrims will then find the enlightened way, which leads from the heart of the fog straight to the door of light. So that's our shared goal, but first we must focus on individual glamour, which we'll be doing together now.
Thank you, Olivia. I'm trying to. We have.
Well, here is Tuija. Hello to everybody and welcome. We are very, very happy to have all of you with us. One point what I was thinking to add, what was staying in my mind, it's very, in one sense, easy thought, but DK said that why it is difficult to work with glamours is that because we don't see them, we only see the effect of them. I think when we are working now in starting the launch ahead, maybe it would be good to stay with this idea within ourselves and maybe list to us from where we could see some of those effects in our lives, and maybe then getting a clearer idea about those glamours that we have.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tuija and Olivia, for your thoughts there. Tuija had brought up the importance of the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha was training the accepted disciples of the time. He also was training those who were taking the fourth initiation. And if we can understand, the Buddha is the great Lord of Light and the Lord of Wisdom, and if we can understand how desire plays into the factor of glamour by studying the Four Noble Truths and then the Noble Eightfold Path that follows that, we will understand the basis of glamour. It's all about our desire for unreality, and it's all about an unreal sense of ourselves. So I just want to, we're going to read together as we go along in these webinars. What we're going to have is weekly webinars or broadcasts. With the broadcasts, you won't be able to respond. You'll just be able to participate. With webinars, it will be possible to have some questions and discussion. So we'll let you know about that, and they will be occurring as much as possible for us, depending also on our travel schedule, in a weekly manner. And we will notify you. What I wanted to do for those of you who are astrologers, just show you this little horoscope. And for some it may mean nothing, but you notice there's a grand square in the sky at the moment. This can be a very stressful kind of time, but can also be a time when people really deal with their difficulties. And the main thing I want to point out about this chart is that it is a new moon chart. And in another half hour or so, there will be a new moon. The sun and the moon will be conjuncting together in the 15th degree of Gemini, and along with it will come fifth ray Venus, which rules the ajna center of most people. It's in exactly the same degree. You see it here in the color orange. And that is a very auspicious moment to begin this kind of work when fifth ray Venus involved at the Ajna Center and so important in creating that beam of light from the Ajna Center, which dissipates glamour, when that planet is right there with the sun and moon. And of course, also here is an asteroid called Vesta, which gives a great dedication to the process. So in addition to this grand square, there is this great search for truth which is going on here, and that is symbolized by the planet Saturn in Sagittarius. There are many other things that could be said about it. Taurus is an important sign. It's a sign of light, and it's much involved with the dissipation of glamour. So there are many good features about this chart, and this will be our launching chart set up for the place where this broadcast is basically starting from, although in a way it's everywhere. So Olivia and Tuija have emphasized the importance of the time, and what I'm going to do is discuss a little bit of what glamour may be. Tuija talked about how elusive it is and how we don't see our own and how we see more or less the effects of it. And the effects are not good. Obviously, the effects are problematic in the world, and we're going to, let's see if I can go down here to this list that was made of certain features about glamour which you might want to have in mind. And what we'll do is we will send you this document. Your email address will be, if you're attending this, your email address will be here, and we will send you the document so you can study some of these causes of glamour. At a certain point, I'm going to leave off and then go through the meditation, the formula, which the Tibetan suggests we use. And he's very strict about this. He says, you know, you have to use this formula every week. You have to work for at least 2 years. He says, stick to the formula, and it's very, very effective. So that's precisely what we're going to do. And even once we begin working on group and world glamour, we're going to continue working on the individual side of it, because people cannot afford to let their individual work go while they intend to do world work. So it's quite an undertaking that we're establishing at this moment, and we will do our best to persist under all possible circumstances. It may not always be possible every week, but we'll notify you and let you know. Okay. Now, a few things about glamour. It's about reality, and the glamoured person doesn't really observe reality. The glamoured person observes how he or she feels about what he or she takes to be real, which is usually not real at all. There's always some kind of bias going on here, some incomplete point of view, some overemphasis or underemphasis, some lack of understanding of the true spiritual value of what consciousness registers. So we value things incorrectly because of our emotional detachment, and we have bias about it. We think that unimportant things are important. We think that important things are unimportant. We have a distorted point of view, and it usually stems from the fact that we don't really know who we are, and we think we are simply the personality. So that's point number 2. It's wrong identification, the wrong idea of who we really are. We don't understand ourselves to be souls. We get very self-centered about life, and we interpret all things in terms of our lower self, as if we were the center of stage. And that creates some kind of distortion, some kind of refraction. You know how the stick appears to bend in the water. It suddenly takes a peculiar angle when it's under the water and you see it. So there's a distortion that happens because we stand on the middle of our stage. And when we learn how really to decentralize ourselves and develop truer spiritual values, then glamour does not afflict us. We could say, well, in a way you have to pass the second initiation before you're done with a lot of the common glamours, and even then certain glamours may persist. So this is not a short-term process. Glamour is built upon a partial point of view. If you could see the whole thing, if you had a completed point of view, then there would not be glamour. And also on a non-proportional point of view. You don't see things in their true relation. You see things in a distorted manner, an exaggerated manner, a minimized manner, as I've said. There's this question of whether we have an emotional emphasis on the valuing of the part over the value of the whole. So we get all emotionally involved, all attached to the part and not to the whole. So a more completed point of view will help us avoid glamour. These are just a few essential ideas about what glamour is. It's really very subtle matter, and it's going to take us a while before we can even see how we are afflicted. It's so interesting to have other people remind us of what our glamours are, and we don't see this at all. Okay, so the part is what appears to be important to the glamoured person. I was thinking about, during the Second World War, it's very interesting. Italy represented illusion. Japan represented Maya, and Germany had the worst condition, and it represented glamour. And it was so infatuated with this idea of the master race. Hitler and others had read parts of the Secret Doctrine, and they took the whole idea of the Aryan consciousness, and they made it into the Aryan race. So they took just a fragment, and they blew it all up, and they became extremely devoted to this particular fragmentary idea. And they thrust that upon the world, and we had the second phase of the Great War. So the lower ego is involved in doing this, usually, and somehow an emphasis upon our lower ego rather than our soul nature. So we need to have a wider view of life. We need not to be emotionally invested in just a part of things, because otherwise we're going to be dealing with glamour. We're a victim of an incomplete point of view. We're distorting our point of view through overemphasis or underemphasis. Now, a lot of sixth-ray people are very adept at fighting glamour, but they're also the ones that succumb to it. And the sixth ray is called, interestingly enough, the ray of undue emphasis. So, we have to... we have to see things as they are. We cannot refuse to see things as they are and become emotionally invested in our distortions. It's been said that the glamour arises when you have illusions on the mental plane and you drag them down onto the astral plane and become emotionally involved with those illusions and attached to those illusions. Fourth ray people perhaps are particularly prone to making a glamour out of illusion. So now, DK gives us a kind of a formula for avoiding glamour. Perfect poise, a completed point of view, and divine understanding. Now, these will produce harmlessness if we have them. And if we are far from perfect poise and we have a very incomplete point of view and we lack divine understanding, then we are subject to glamour and we are also in a condition of harmfulness. Now, notice how much Libra, the sign Libra, is involved here in these three qualifications. Now, when we are in a glamoured state, we cannot understand the divine plan as it is intended to be, because the divine plan is based upon a high level of reality, which is formulated on the atmic plane. We just get a fragment and we run with that fragment. And now, egoism doesn't mean that you have to be like some dictatorial despot, demagogue, whatever, such as we often have in the political process. No, egoism is keeping your eyes on the little self all the time. And DK is always telling us to take our eyes off the little self. So wherever there is self-referencing all the time, the distortion of self-referencing. Whether we run ourselves down or whether we build ourselves up, we're still looking at the little self, and that's going to cause the distortion of glamour. The motives of the glamoured person, they will usually talk about themselves, think about themselves, and they are limited by a personal point of view. So the extent to which we can become decentralized is very, very important when dealing with glamour. Get off our own stage and let whatever you are as a little ego shrink down and down and down until you really see things in proportion. We might just say that the beglamoured person just doesn't see clearly, and these emotional fogs that are found on the astral plane, they prevent this clarity of sight. Now, what are some of the major causes of glamour? Well, DK, it was very interesting how DK basically tried to tell people what their glamours were, but they were legion. They were so many. He had to find new words to describe the particular veiling of reality that their glamours were responsible for. But he said that three main factors are found here in glamour. And so if we find ourselves subject to these, to criticism, to self-pity, and to suspicion, which is basically, in a way, paranoia, those are the seeds for glamour. Now, we can correlate them with the three major rays. The criticism will come in much on the third ray, and I'm going to leave out the rays of attribute, but the major rays of aspect. Criticism will come in on the third ray. Self-pity is a major, major glamour for the second ray. And suspicion or paranoia is found with the first ray, and oftentimes a projection is involved there. You think the other person is doing or going to do what is in you, and in which you are intending to do, although you may be somewhat unconscious of that. So criticism, it lowers the value of that which is criticized. And, and everybody has their value, so you don't see people as souls when you're busy criticizing them. As far as self-pity goes, it overemphasizes the little self and prevents constructive, realistic engagement with the environment. You're not too useful when you're in a state of self-pity. And suspicion, again, it doesn't see people as they really are. It only sees others as they deviate from what your little personal self wants or expects of them. So again, we have this business about partial vision. A person who's a real student of life, who's a real trained observer, is not going to fall into these partialities. You might say, it's not a pleasant thought, but glamours are like malignant tumors on the truth. They contribute to the distorted point of view, and they don't promote the realization of truth. See, truth is the great antidote to glamour, and a glamorous situation does not promote the realization of truth in whomever they affect. Let's see, in general, when the personal is more important to you than your soul perspective, glamour will strike. And, and here's another hint. When people, you see, we as aspirants and disciples, we always want to improve our situation. We always want to get better and better until we are fit to participate with the hierarchy in the way that will be useful to them as they try to express the divine plan. Well, when a behavior is pointed out to you, which is really leading nowhere, and a kind of attitude which is not helpful, and you say, well, that's just the way I am, and it's a sign that there is a glamour there, and you are resisting improving your state. Because, of course, we are just the way we are, and most of us are filled with some kind of glamour or other, or some kind of illusion, and it keeps us from really seeing reality, really participating in reality. So the dangerous thing here is that people feel really justified in their glamours, just the way Germany did in the Second World War. So there's a tendency to resist positive change as you hold on to your glamours. So how will all this benefit you, as you relieve your individual glamours? Well, let's just say you will benefit individually in terms of understanding reality and truth, and because you're a part of the larger situation, the world consciousness will also have one more clear, clarifying worker who is not contributing to the general miasma. I've made a little definition here that glamour is a desirous preoccupation of consciousness with that which prevents the consciousness from seeing reality. Your desires are preoccupied with certain phases of consciousness and you don't see reality. It is the wanting of that which is lesser, and the wanting of that which veils and distorts reality. It's an attachment which veils the perception of reality, or at least a greater reality. And I might just say in conclusion, it's a reality distorting attachment. A reality distorting attachment. Okay, well, those are a few ideas here. And as I say, we will be sending these to you and other things so you can study. Obviously, it is expected that anyone who would participate in a group like this would be reading this book, Glamour, a World Problem, and would be, interested in the subject. It involves particularly the head center, the heart center, and the solar plexus center, the same centers that are used in the religious seed group, the New World Religion. So it's very interesting, and we see some of the most severe glamours in the world today are in the field of religion and then also in the field of general materialism. We'll say more about that as we go. Yes. Okay, now, who wants to speak? Go ahead.
It's Tuija, your wife.
Yes, okay. Okay, dear. Go ahead. Yes.
I tried to say it was more appropriate moment early on, but there was no breaks.
Sorry.
I was just thinking about the spiritual unfoldment of humanity and how the influence of the law of loving understanding is coming, or the humanity is coming under that law. So there is this broader synthetic brotherly love, which is energetically affecting all of us. So he says that how everybody is needing to be guided or led to this more synthetic law, under the law, and to right human relations. DK talks about so much about the right human relations, and it's always how the glamour affects in relationship to the relationships with each of us. And that is one part of our work at this time, that how we have to work with all of these glamours, that we can emphasize the right human relations, and in that sense lead the humanity to the harmony and the synthesis.
That's good. And one of the interesting things there, I keep on emphasizing this sign Libra. Obviously there are, the Venusian sign Taurus is also involved, but Libra is also the sign of right human relations. It's particularly related to the Prince of Peace, who is the Christ, who has perfect clarity of vision, and to the spirit of peace, and it was related to those three factors where we had divine understanding, perfect poise, and a completed point of view. So the Libran approach, which really considers the value of all things in correct proportion, is a direct antidote, when used properly, to glamour. Now, my hope is just to take a quick look at the meditation we're going to use. We're approaching the new moon period, and we're going to begin just before the new moon, and at the exact moment of the new moon, I'll sound an Om, and you can sound an Om as well wherever you are, and that will give us the launch using this a very powerful Venusian energy to work on the particular formula. Now, I just wanted to, just to refresh your memory, my memory too. Let's see here. There are these, this is the AAB book, and this is right around here. on page 120, here are the lists of glamours. You've probably seen them. I'm just going to, just take a look at the screen. It can be according to your soul ray, according to your personality ray. Maybe you've already chosen a glamour that you want to work on. If I was a Ray 2 type, which I think I am, I might choose self-pity, a basic glamour of this ray. Here's Ray 3, busyness and the spider at the center and devious manipulation, all the rest of it. And here's Ray 4 with the glamour of war and the glamour of the pairs of opposites. We'll study all these, but you'll want to work on one of these this evening, this afternoon, whatever it is for you. The Ray 5 glamours are there. Maybe you're afflicted by them, but probably not so many in our groups are. And here, Ray 6, lots of them, devotion, idealism, narrow vision, fanaticism. We see it all over the world. And here, Ray 7, the glamour of magical work and the glamour of the mysterious and the secret and sex magic and the subterranean powers. Maybe for you, one of these glamours particularly is something that you will be willing to work on when we have this meditation on individual glamour, which is coming right up. So either get out the sheet of paper that I sent you, or have it on the screen. You can think of something, I'm sure, where some kind of distortion, liability, wrong attachment, etc., is entering your life. And now I just want to look at the meditation itself for just a little while. Because some of you now, perhaps quite a few of you are using the DK methods of occult meditation. Maybe not everyone, so it may help. We're going to mobilize our personalities. We're going to see how the glamour may have been affecting our life adversely. We're going to focus 3 types of light: the light of the mind and of matter, and also the light of the soul. We're going to unify those lights. We're going to focus them, and we're going to dedicate the personality to the soul. We're going to brace ourselves for the work to be done, and we're going to turn towards the astral plane in our imagination. We're not turning so much towards our own astral body. I'll be reading these out in a way that you'll be able to follow. Now, it's possible in the future to do this meditation quickly, but one must learn first what it is. He gives us a short form, but we don't want to be using the short form until we can really establish ourselves in the various steps. I mean, you might be able to do it in 5 or 10 minutes later, although the meditation for dissipating glamour in a group sense, in a world sense, you cannot do so quickly, because he demands that you actually sit in silence for the first 10 minutes. And so that is a rule. So we're going to breathe the Om out toward the personality. We're going to direct an intense and brilliant light, like a beam of light out from the ajna center. We're going to hold the mind steady in the light. See how much the 5th ray light, the ajna center, is really involved here, the blending and fusing of the lights. And then we're going to bring our beam of light in connection with the glamour that we have isolated on the astral plane. It's going to stream forth, it's going to pierce the glamour. A broad and brilliant beam will be, from the illumined mind, will be pouring onto the astral plane, and we have to be convinced and believe that it is so. We're going to protect ourselves, And we're going to ward off the glamour by using this formula, which you can say to yourself where you are, or you can say it in full voice if you're on self-mute, or you can whisper it. But we're going to apply these sentences to the destruction of the glamour. And then we're going to sound the sacred word. We're going to make an impact upon the glamour, and the glamour will slowly dissipate over time. It can't be expected to dissipate immediately. It's of ancient origin. But that will be the extent of this formula, which we can use on a more regular basis, but we'll use it at least once a week. And if you want to really make an attack on this in your life, you'll use it more often. And here, basically, he gives us a brief outline of the stages of the attack on glamour. So I trust that that will be enough so that you can understand what we're going to do. And many of you have used this before. I realize that in this group are people who have been working with as trained observers on the dissipation of glamour for many years in some cases. So this will be old to you, but perhaps new to some. So let's see what time it is. It's almost going to be that time now. And what we'll do is we will begin, and when the new moon strikes, I have it here before my eyes in a way, at 5:59:31 here, and of course it will be different times for all of you, but it'll be almost at 59:31. We will sound the Om wherever we are in the process. But first we're going to begin in such a way that we utilize the silence and focus our attention. Okay. There are some 95 of us meditating, which is very good, and we will begin our work together. Okay. So at first, make sure you put yourself on self-mute so we don't have extra sounds. And that would apply for the staff too. That's good. And we will simply sit in silence for a little while, perhaps receptive to what it is we are attempting to do. And this silence will, of course, unify us as a group. And think of all the souls who are involved here in the different continents, different parts of the world, but we're all coming together in this reflective, meditative silence, which is responsive to the soul. And our sense of being together in this work as souls in a unified field is increased in this gathering silence. And in this silence we have appreciation for each other as co-workers. Usually this is done in smaller groups and there's a naming of the co-workers, but we'll think in the larger sense with gratitude towards each other in this enterprise. And we realize that the energies of the new moon are rapidly approaching. That holds for every place on the planet. In just about 3 minutes or so, and since this new moon is in Gemini, we won't always be, of course, meditating at the time of the new moon, but we have the privilege of doing that now. We're going to realize that it provides right relations between the pairs of opposites. And the pairs of opposites in this case are soul and personality, a proper balance, all within the field of loving understanding. These new moons can be very powerful. They are sometimes called shambolic moons. The force of soul and of spirit overcomes the force of personality. It blots it out. So this is a moment that all of us can be impressed with the high purpose of clarifying the field of consciousness in which humanity habitually lives, so that right decisions can be made and correct progress will be the result, correct progress for humanity moving into the Aquarian age. New moon is in less than a minute, and we will sound the Om together as a united group with the mind held steady in the light. using the power of the sun and moon together and the nearness of Venus, we will begin our work. So for each one of us, there is a glamour to be dissipated. So we have to recognize, for any one of us, what that is. So we'll name that to ourselves. What is the glamour that we are at this time, in individual glamour, working with? It may be according to one of our prominent rays. Once we have the sense of the glamour we want to work with on this occasion, we have to have within ourselves a willingness to cooperate with the soul, with the higher part of ourselves, with the solar angel, to cooperate in physical, astral, and mental ways in order to aid in the more technical work. We're supposed to ponder the implications of this sentence. This is a technical formula, and the fifth ray is involved in this work. Now we turn our attention to our life in the three worlds, our daily life, and we try to recognize the ways in which the glamour we are working with affects our daily life and all our relationships. Because surely this glamour does not have a good effect as we try to live our life of discipleship, aiding the divine plan. Now we will, following instructions here, he says this is a technical formula, we will focus the light of the mind and the light of matter found in our personality. We will focus these two lights in the mental vehicle. We can use the imagination here. This is done, he says, by a process of lifting up and of blending and fusion, using the creative imagination, employing the creative imagination to blend these two lights of mind and matter in the mental vehicle. Now, having imagined this, we're entering a stage of meditation in which we will attempt to bring about the fusion of the light of matter, the light of mind, and the light of soul upon the mental plane. So this will be the mind held steady in the light of the soul, and the light of matter is also there. Three types of light fusing on the mental plane. These three lights are then recognized or realized to be as if one unified light, like a searchlight, ready to be turned in any needed direction. The imagination is used here to conceive the three lights as one light. Now we want to recognize two aspects of preparedness to do this work. We recognize the alignment of the personality so that the three aspects of the lower nature are seen as constituting one functioning personality. That's mind, emotions, and physical etheric nature. One functioning personality. And we also recognize a kind of act of integration in which the personality and the soul are seen also as a unit. How do we do this? By dedicating the personality to the soul. And then we imagine that the soul accepts this dedication. And DK tells us that these two lines of thinking, the alignment of the personality and the dedication of the personality to the soul, they produce a field of magnetic thought and of realization in which all the work is done. Now we pause for a moment as if to brace ourselves for the work to be done. We've been occupied with blending three lights into one, blending soul and personality, using the creative imagination to help us do this. But now we turn our attentive mind upon the glamour to be eradicated. We're not so much analyzing it. It's not so much a consciousness of the why and wherefore. It means something else. It means, and this we do, a turning of the attention of the integrated soul personality to the astral plane and to the particular glamour. Our focused attention is not turned to the astral body of ourselves, the aspirant who is seeking to do this work. We're going to focus on the astral plane and the particular glamour to be dealt with, and that will eventually help destroy it in our own nature. And it also prepares us for the eventual group service that we will undertake, and this is not easy, the Tibetan tells us. So, toward the astral plane, we think of the particular glamour on that level. That's where our attention is turned. Now into the technique or formula. So, by an act of the creative imagination, each one of us endeavors to see and to hear the soul, the source of light and power in the three worlds, breathing out the Om into the mind of the attentive, waiting personality. The soul breathes out the Om into the mind of ourselves as the attentive, waiting personality. And there, in the mind, the light and power of the soul are retained and held by the positive personality. The positive personality. Retention of the light of the soul in the mind. And this retained light and power of the soul, combined with the dual light of the personality and focused on the mental plane, is now seen as generating an intense light, which can be visualized as a searchlight of great brilliance and strength. It must be seen as a sphere of vivid, brilliant light, but not yet radiating out or projecting outwards. A sphere of great brilliance and strength. Now, when we have accomplished this, we pause and we focus all the will we have behind the light, which is created by the fusion of the three lights. We focus all the will we have behind this light. And we're entering then the stage described by Patanjali as the mind held steady in the light. The use of the will, soul personality will, is dynamic, but not at this stage. But at this stage it is quiescent, he tells us, and not yet magnetic or radiatory. It's dynamic, but quiescent and not yet as magnetic or radiatory as it will soon be. Now, prepared as we are, there follows a process wherein the glamour to be dissipated and the searchlight of the mind, focused in the mind, are brought into relationship by the power of thought. The glamour and its quality and the searchlight and its power are recognized to be as they are, and the effect or effects to be brought about by that relationship are carefully thought out. We have to be careful we don't strengthen by this the already powerful glamour. It has to be done in such a way that when we close the process, the glamour is weakened. So, we're going to bring together the searchlight of the mind and the glamour to be dissipated, doing this by the power of thought. And you will be able to devise your own method of doing this as you work with any particular glamour which afflicts you individually. So, we have thus far achieved the needed concentration, realization, and relationship. And now, by an act of the will and of the creative imagination combined, we turn the searchlight, we turn it on, and we see a vivid beam of light stretch forth and pierce the glamour. A broad and brilliant beam must be visualized, pouring forth from the illumined mind onto the astral plane, and we must believe that this is happening. Piercing the glamour by an act of will and creative imagination using the beam, the searchlight. Then we come to this important and difficult phase, as he describes it. We name the glamour and we see it in process of dissipation. It is being dissipated by our process. So as we're doing this, we inaudibly or quietly holding focused, immovable will, which is tension, we say, and you'll say your own individual sentence, the power of the light prevents the appearance of the glamour, and you name it. Then the power of the light negates the quality of the glamour from affecting me. And then the power of the light destroys the life behind the glamour. the saying of these three sentences, it's done, he tells us, with tension and inaudibly. The saying of these sentences constitutes an affirmation of power and of purpose, and must be enunciated at a point of tension. Remember, tension, focused, immovable will, with the mind held in steadiness and with a positive orientation. So we're going to get better and better at doing this as we practice. And you will want to memorize those sentences. We're going then to sound the sacred word, the Om, with intent to produce what is called the act of penetration. And as we sound the Om, the light that we are projecting is seen doing three things: making a definite impact upon the glamour, penetrating the glamour and being absorbed by it, and dissipating it slowly. He tells us as the time elapses, over the weeks, months, years, the glamour will never again be so powerful and will eventually disappear altogether. So either inwardly or outwardly, we sound that Om in the act of penetration, and we see happening what DK tells us about here: impact, penetration and absorption, dissipation. Now we're reaching the end of this formula. We deliberately withdraw the beam of light and we reorient ourselves upon the mental plane. And we stand together in the mind, held steady in the light, aligned with the soul, the group soul, and with the hierarchy, intent on our purpose to be useful in dissipating the glamour that we have chosen, any glamour which afflicts us, and eventually we will work in a larger sense. with world glamour. Now, friends, I'll tell you what. Rather than dissipate the effects of the process in normal conversation and discussion, there'll be plenty of time for that, because in our coming weekly meetings, especially when they're a webinar, we will have time for academic discussion and then later do the formula, increasing in speed, of course, as we become familiar with it. So rather than get involved in a lot of conversation now, this is our inaugural meeting. We have used the new moon energies, very powerful. We are launched, and we will be in touch with all of you about the Ask program, which will involve meditations that we should be doing on behalf of humanity. The money meditation on Sunday. There will be the reappearance of the Christ meditation on Thursday. There will be a triangles meditation on Wednesday. There will be an invoking the souls of the nations, a continuation, probably be on Saturday. And the glamour meditations will be on a Venus day, fifth ray day, Friday. And later we will add the wider glamour meditation, but continue to do the individual work, even as we work with the group and world situation. So, as much as we can honor it, and we intend to, there'll be plenty to do. And I trust that you will join us. It won't always be convenient for you, but we will have on Makara the recordings, the videos of what we do together, so you can tune in on it if it's not convenient for you or possible for you, where in the world you may be. So without further ado, what I'm just going to ask us to do is sound the great invocation together, and that will be it for our work today. You'll be hearing from us with all the schedule. I'm very grateful. All of us, Olivia, Tuija, and I, who are kind of trying to launch this part of the work, are grateful to you for being here, for participating, and we'll give you the opportunity to stay with it over the weeks, months, and years, so we can contribute to a more sane condition of human consciousness, and one which is less dangerous and threatens humanity much less. Right now there's a big threat because of our instability and because we don't have perfect poise and completed point of view and divine understanding. But we will work in that direction. So let us sound the great invocation together, and then thanks to all, and we will be in touch with you. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So friends, happy Gemini new moon, shambolic moon, and happy Grand Cross in the sky, but there's some Grand Trines in there as well. We will send you the document that we were using here. The video will before long be on Makara, and we will notify you of the Ask program schedule and the particular place, the weekly place on Fridays of the Glamour, Dissipating of Glamour meditation. We thank you for showing up and participating, and lots of love to everybody, and inclusiveness and the full sense of unity here as all of us are going to be working together in this very important project to help clarify human consciousness at a time when so many important decisions, political, educational, economic, scientific, religious, etc., on all the rays are being made. So thank you, and bye-bye for now. You'll hear from us, and go to the Makara website if you want to review anything that we've done here this morning. Thank you for helping to launch the Dissipation of Glamour project. You know, one small part of it. Many people are working in this, but at least this particular initiative over the webinar. Thank you for helping to launch it, and we'll be seeing you. Bye-bye.